Hi guys, my name is Nairi and you will find me on the Nairi Squires channel where I talk about all things relating to adoption, family life, and today we're going to talk about sexualised behaviour, sexualised risky behaviour. What is it? How can you deal with it? And if you think anything to do with adoption, family life, support, tips and advice could be useful, then please subscribe to my channel by hitting the pink button down below. So sexualised behaviour and sexually risky behaviour is characterised by children who would not normally know what sexual behaviour really is or what these things mean, and by them acting or playing those things out, which they might do on objects, on themselves or other children. And generally speaking, those who go for really sexually risky behaviour are going to need a very high level of supervision by yourself, and probably you're going to have to let others know, whether it be in school or in the family, that this is a possibility, that this might happen. It might present itself by you watching them doing things with dolls or toys. It might be that they actually do things to themselves. It could be that they use things to penetrate themselves or play with themselves, or it might well be that they try these things out on other children, and clearly that is not going to be acceptable in any sort of environment. And why would this happen? Well, obviously because they've experienced or watched sexual activity a number of times for them to be able to know how to then play out those risky or sexual behaviours. And when you are dealing with a child like this, it can really get to you, can bring you down, because you suddenly find yourself in a position of realizing that you're going to have to go a long way back to try and put better boundaries and foundations in for the child, so that they understand what is acceptable behaviour and what is sexualised and not acceptable behaviour. So, process of adoption, and you haven't decided whether you want to take on a child that's been sexually abused, I've just put a link there to my other video about caring for sexually abused children. Then you might want to think about whether you can, if you don't think you can talk about sexual things in detail, because it's no good sometimes just skirting around the subject. You are going to literally have to say to a child, we don't normally do that to ourselves in front of other people, we wouldn't, and you're going to have to actually expressly say the words so that they know what they can and can't do in front of other children or in front of other adults. And if you are adopting, then to know that your child that you've adopted has already lost their innocence is very, very challenging. But it is, at the end of the day, just one category of abuse that is extremely damaging, but so are the others as well. And there is plenty of useful therapy out there and ways of dealing with sexual abuse with children to help them to recover from their trauma. And one of the ways that you can help them is by actively talking to them about sexual things and how to protect their bodies, and how what has happened to them wasn't nice, was not normal, and that actually adults don't normally act in that way. You can find that at times when children are disclosing about their sexual abuse, that they will act out the abuse in sexualised ways and risky ways. And this is when you're going to need to be really careful about younger children in the home, pets, things that might go on at school. So it's important, if they go to a normal mainstream school or wherever they go, that you are informing the teachers and the staff around that this is what's happening, and that there could be risks involved around other children. And clearly things will happen in schools around toilet areas and private areas where adults cannot see, and we have it. So you're going to have your wits about you when the disclosures start happening, and just keep an eye. I wouldn't, when you first start out with the children, you need to get to know what their levels of risky behaviour might be, and you don't want to find that out the hard way. So I wouldn't be leaving younger children on their own with very sexualised children. Even if it appears that nothing has happened recently, I would be having younger children until you're sure that a lot of these behaviours have kind of dissipated. And I would say that over a few years that might well be the case. It doesn't mean that just because a child starts off with sexualised behaviour that they're not then going to be able to deal with that later and work that through the system. And it could well be that after a while you don't have those worries anymore. So So guys, I hope that helps you, and if it does, then please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification button so that you know when I bring out other videos. Look forward to seeing you on my channel. Goodbye now.